Welcome to Fredericksburg Mission, a podcast talking all things mental health and wellness in the Burg. Brought to you by...
How do you shorten the time it takes to buy a car? Car buying just got easier. Pohanka365.com lets you complete as much or as little of the car buying process online. Pohanka365.com. Car buying simplified. Anytime, anywhere.
Welcome to Fredericksburg Mission Podcast. My name is Angela Rivers, and I am here with Aimey Giacinto, a life coach in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Welcome, Aimey. It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, yeah. So I haven't seen you in a couple years, really, from Mom's Club?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how, are you still involved in Mom's Club? Are you still active with them?
I am involved with Mom's Club. However, during the pandemic, it's kind of...
Yeah, it's definitely been
different.
Been difficult. Yeah.
And with it being cold, like the only time they meet up is outside, so that's a little rough. I don't do well with cold weather.
I don't either. I'm ready for spring.
Me too. I'm like, I got no sleeves on. I'm like, it's going to be 70 today.
It is.
Let's
know.
do it.
Seriously. Yeah, I'm all ready for it.
My husband's like, is it really that warm outside? I'm like, yes, it is. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, but I'm so excited to have you here. You launched a new life coaching business this past year. And so I'd love for you to tell the listeners about your business and why you started it.
Okay, yeah. So I actually hired a life coach myself about a year and a half ago, and I fell in love with the process of what it was, how it worked, and everything that I learned about myself and the growth that I made. And I knew that I had to share this with other people. So as I got to a place where I felt comfortable, I decided, okay, now it's time for me to start sharing this with other people. And that's why I started. Yeah.
And how do you share it with other people right now?
So I do podcasts with them. I also have a Facebook group, and I'm on Instagram. I mostly concentrate on Facebook. And I do, right now I'm currently doing 365 days of live, where every day I talk about a different topic related to life coaching, personal development, growth, anything in that realm I talk about. But I also have some programs where I work one-on-one with people. I have a program where it's pre-recorded and people can work at their own speed. I also have another program that's kind of like a group coaching where I teach people lessons, and then we have a group coaching call and we discuss what they learned, what they need help with, how to implement what they're learning in their lives, where they're having trouble implementing things in their life, so that I can help them be successful in anything that they're doing. A lot of people that I work with are not only working on personal development, but they're also working on a lot of people I work with are trying to grow businesses for themselves. So I help support them in that way too, help them to overcome their fears of telling people what they do or being worried about what people are going to think about them. And lastly, I work one-on-one. So I can work one-on-one with people if they want to have me and work with me a little bit more concentrated, because in the group coaching, there's a whole bunch of people, and you can only talk so much when you have an hour and a half, 2-hour session, and there's a whole bunch of people in the group coaching call. But if you're doing one-on-one coaching, then it's every week we meet, and every week you get a full hour of my attention, and we can discuss anything that's going on, whether it's your personal development or what you're doing with your business, or maybe it's something that you're trying to achieve outside of all of that. Maybe you want to start traveling or whatever it is that you're trying to do. I can concentrate one-on-one with them in that area.
Yeah, so I'm not really familiar with life coaching. And so can you explain more about what it is specifically for anybody that is listening and might not know like I do?
Okay. So life coaching is basically where we find problem areas in your life and we change them. So if you're working with like somebody like a therapist or something like that, you're working on like things that happened to you in your past and like how they affect you right now. But what I do is I find things that you don't like about yourself right now. Say I was actually talking to someone about this the other day. She really wants to grow her business that she has, but she's so scared of what people are going to say about her when she does it. So she has some fear of judgment of how people are going to judge her, how people are going to perceive her. So what I do is we dig into that and find out exactly why she's scared of that, where that fear comes from. And then we change the narrative behind that. Because something happened. Either she raised her hand and people made fun of her because she didn't know the answer in school, or maybe she knows somebody else that started a business and her friends made fun of them and now she's scared to put herself out there. So we find out what exactly it is that is the root of the problem. And then we switch the narrative, and then we find evidence of the new narrative so that way they can move on in that. So find out area in that same situation, say she does have friends that have made fun of other friends who have started businesses. So she's scared to put herself out there because they're going to make fun of her. Well, what I will do is we'll change that narrative that, a lot of people are going to support her. And we're going to look at areas in her life where people do support her in everything that she does. And then we're going to look at look at her friends that do support their other friends that have businesses, so that she can kind of take the emphasis off the negative of it and start looking at the positive. And when she concentrates on the positive of it and all the people that are going to be happy for her, all the people who are going to support her, then she's able to move more easily into her role of what she wants to do, have this business and have people underneath of her and things like that.
So you're basically like their cheerleader.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you could do it.
Is that what you got when you were doing it? I mean, was there something that you wanted to work on that maybe other listeners are like, oh, you know what? I could really use a life coach for that too, that they could,
For me, so I went to the reason why I started with my life coach was that it's kind of a complicated story, but
here we go. We've got 30 minutes. Let's go.
So, right before I met my husband, I had changed a lot about my life. And because I wanted to be a different person, I wanted to be a better person. And I was really scared that people were going to look at my past and judge me for my past. So I changed all this stuff about me, and I was living this good life. I was happy. Everything was going well. And then I had my daughter, and I realized that the person that I was trying to become, because I was scared that people were going to judge me, left me feeling like I was a shell of a person. I really didn't know who I was. I didn't have an identity. I lost that. And I think a little bit of that was because I did have a kid. I feel like when you have a kid, your whole life is flipped upside.
Kids, yeah.
And that's a big thing. People say, "Oh, you have kids now. Your life doesn't exist anymore. What you think doesn't matter anymore. It's all about these kids." Mm-hmm. And I just felt like I was a shell of a person. I didn't matter. I didn't know where my path was, what I wanted, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't even know who I am." I have all this time I've been taking these parts of me away. And here I am left, and I don't even know who I am, what I like, what I want to do. I don't know anything. How am I going to raise a daughter not knowing who I am and what I want? I want her to be strong in this, so I need to find my way so that I can be an example for her. And that was the start of my journey. After that, I started digging into personal development and started reading books and stuff like that. And then I read this book by Jen Sincero. It's You're a Badass. And in this book, I didn't read it, I listened to it. And in this book, she talks about how she got a life coach and how it totally changed her life. And I listened to this book, I don't know, I would say probably close to 20 times. And that part just kept sticking out to me. And I'm I don't even know what exactly a life coach is. I know it changed her life, so I'm sure it can change my life.
That's where I am right now.
Yeah.
How can you help me?
Yeah. And I'm I'm like, I know that something needs to change, and what I'm doing right now is obviously not working. So I need to do something. Mm-hmm. So I started looking for life coaches. I just started Googling it on Google, like, where can I find a life coach? And at that time, I was decorating cakes, and I found this lady that she was like a guru in the cake decorating world, and she was she had a class that taught you how to like sell your cakes and be more profitable with them. So I did that, and come to find out, she did that, but she also did life coaching. Wow. And I'm like, oh, wow. You are who I need. And I liked her because I liked her work from when I worked with her on the cake stuff. So I'm like, let me work with her. And I'm telling you what, it was not a cheap investment. It was the scariest thing I ever did in my whole entire life. Like, I was hyperventilating when I said yes. Because like,
it's worth it though.
My life has changed so much, and I am so much more confident as a person and who I am that I would pay triple that. Mm-hmm. But it was like so much that since I'm a stay-at-home mom, I don't have income, and I had to make it work. I'm kind of embarrassed to say this because I know this is a horrible idea, but I took money out of my retirement to pay for it.
Sometimes it's worth it though.
Oh my God. Like I said, I would pay 3 times.
Happier now if you're better in a better state. It's there's no price tag.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like I have purpose now. Like, I know who I am as a person. I know that those past things that I used to be so ashamed of are going to help somebody. Mm-hmm. People are going to look at me and be like, oh my gosh, because you were able to get through this, you helped me get through this. I knew that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, or just being able to be there for them and be their cheerleader and help them navigate, because the growth journey is not pretty. Like, no, a lot of people are like, oh, self-care, this. No, there's like days when I've done this that I felt like crawling under my bed and crying like, I can't believe this happened, and it happened to me. Why am I letting it affect me still? Like, how do I get over this? But I'm so grateful for it though. I would do it over again. And it's a never-ending journey. Like, every day I learn something new about myself, and I continue to grow every day. It's a never-ending journey. It's going to continue for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. So,
well, even your past, I'm a big believer in everything happening for a reason. So even your past that led you here, if you didn't have that back in the day, where would you be today?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's different. How, the fact that you can now help other people grow and heal is a big deal.
Yeah. And I think for a long time, I was scared of that because I thought that people would judge me because of it. And that's like really why I concentrate on the area that I do, of like helping people that have shame, that are trying to overcome shame and step out of people's judgment, because I know how that felt. And I know how lonely it is and how dark it can be. So I want to be that person for someone else that can help them. The light is over here. It is all good. So that's why I've chose that area.
Yeah, especially as a mom to a girl. Our girls are about the same age.
Yes.
And, I feel like as a mom to a young girl, everything you say, everything you do, every action, they copy it. At least mine does.
Oh my gosh, mine does too.
And so I always think like, well, I shouldn't say this, or I should say that, or I should mimic this, or if my life was different here, maybe I'd be a better mom to her, or whatnot. And so it's always a journey, but what you're doing is great.
Yeah. And the greatest thing about my personal growth is that your kids are your biggest mirrors. Mm-hmm. And they have taught me so much, because when I see them acting in a certain way, they got it from me.
Right. I'm like, no, you are not a mini-me.
Yeah. My daughter is. She told me the other day, she was bossing her little brother around, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm practicing being an adult. And I'm like, oh God, she's 5, just turned 5.
You're being a wife.
Yeah. Yeah. Stop it. But I see her, and even my son, I see them do things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I am showing them that that's how they're supposed to act. I have to act differently if I want them to act differently. So what do I need to change about myself? Because the biggest thing about personal development is that we can't change anyone. And I think that before I started with personal development and learning and getting into coaching is that I thought everybody else was supposed to change to be the way that I wanted them to be. And I've learned that I'm the only person that I can change. I can't change anyone else. But if I can look at the situation and say, hey, how can I do better? How can I teach them better? How do I want them to act? How do I want to show up to them? I don't want them to yell at people if they don't listen to them. So I need to figure out a better way to handle them. And even though they're different people, like I can still calmly, hey, I need to talk to you. We are not going to do that, and talk to them more calmly, because I think about myself. Like if I want somebody to talk, if somebody wants me to do something, if they sit down and talk to me and say, hey, this is the reason why I want you to do this, and they're calm about it and they're honest about it, like I'm going to be like, okay, I don't want to hurt you. I want to do this for you. And I do it. But if you just holler at somebody, they're like, I don't want to do what you're asking me to.
Defensive.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that that's like a great thing about having kids too, is because they mirror you. So you can, for me, it amplifies it. Like, oh, this is what I need to work on next.
It mimics that for me too.
Yeah. and it's that part is pretty awesome to have that mirror to look at. And I mean, there's other things that I work on too within myself that I want to do, like being a confident person. Like I want my daughter and my son to be confident in everything that they do. And if I'm ashamed of who I am or where I come from, how am I showing up for them? Like I can't do that. So I need to be the best person that I can be. And I had to work on myself to get to that point. And I'm thankful that I did it. I wish that I wouldn't have had to wait so long till I had kids to realize that, but I'm glad that it happened nonetheless.
I think too, though, people, like when you're younger, at least for me, because I'm obviously doing this because I have a past too. And so, I feel like as you age, you become wiser. And then you're like, I wish I did that. Or, so it's all about the timing, the fact that you didn't do it earlier, or I didn't do it earlier, you're doing it now. Yeah. And that's what's important. I agree. Still have your whole life ahead of you.
I know, right? I used to think like 35, 40 was so old. And now I'm like, I am young. What am I talking about?
My year.
I know, right? I do, because I feel like that, because like when you're younger, you're like still kind of all about you. But now it's like, wow, me too. I was definitely, it was all about me back then. But now it's like, wow, this whole world is like ahead of me and I can do anything. And I still got plenty of time. I'm not old. I still have plenty of time left. So
I know. I turn 40 next year. And so I feel like I've heard that like the 40s are the good age, like when you really know what you want in life and you're all, you're happy. And so I'm like, all right, here we go. Life's just starting.
Yeah. I turn 40 next year too.
Yeah.
So
I'm right there with celebration.
You. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about your training for this? What kind of training did you have to do?
I went to the school of hard knocks. My life is what trained me. There are training programs, but I really feel like, and I've looked into training and all that good stuff, but I really feel like my past and what I've been through is training enough. And there are lots of people that do life coaching that don't have like certified training, but I feel like my life and what I've lived and what I've been through has prepared me for this. Mm-hmm. I've been around a lot of different people in a lot of different situations, and I have a pretty clear vision of what the world is and how people are and things like that. So I feel like I can help people because of that.
Yeah, and sometimes that's more meaningful.
Yeah.
You can study and study and study and study, but if you don't walk in the shoes, sometimes it's more difficult.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but, often.
Yeah, I agree. I think that to have somebody be able to relate to you and understand where you were and to be able to.
That's what people want when they come to you. They want someone to understand. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was me. I want somebody that's been where I've been that can say, okay, she totally gets this. She totally understands where I'm coming from. And I think that makes you more comfortable. And even if it's a little bit worse, or like maybe my past is a little bit worse than yours or whatever, but you still have that okay, they're not going to judge me. She's been there. She understands kind of thing. And I think that that is really important because there's a big trust when you work with a coach, a lot of trust, because you're talking about your past, the things that you're most vulnerable about. And you're like digging into that vulnerable spot and trying to change it. So you have to work with somebody that you trust, somebody that you connect with, because otherwise the growth is not going to be as good. And the whole purpose of working with a coach is that, I mean, you can read all the books in the world, and as long as you implement them, you will grow. But a coach is somebody that is going to help you get there faster. They're like the express train. And then they can help you get to where you want to be, or just accelerate that part of your life a little bit faster.
So basically, you're like a fitness coach for the brain to help people overcome their circumstances and to make their life better.
Yes, exactly.
But they have to want to do it too. You know, they have to want the journey. You know, there's so many times when, you know, me personally, when I was younger, I always wanted to try to change people, or I thought they would change, and they didn't want to change. And so, you know, now people have to want to do it in order for them to be successful.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the biggest thing. And even for me, being on this journey, like that's the biggest thing that I learned was, you can't change people. You can show them what you're doing and you can lead by example, but you're not going to change anybody. They have to want to do that themselves.
Yeah. And that's okay. You know, you got to accept them too. And so that's where I did my own work, you know, to be like, okay, well, it's not them, it's really me.
Yeah.
And here we are. So how is a life coach different from a therapist?
So a therapist basically, I think I touched on this a little bit earlier, but excuse me, a therapist actually works with your past. You like dig into your past and figure out how it affects you, like the things that you do today, like that's the reason because of something in your past.
But it's still kind of that with a life coach too, right? Because you have if someone's scared of like being in front of a camera, for instance, you know, well, why? Did you raise your hand? You know, like you said. So that still would be the past, right?
Kind of. But so they are going to concentrate on how your past is affecting, like what you're doing right now is affecting you. But right now, but with a life coach, you work about now and in the future. Whereas a therapist works
just
more
the past.
and more the past and what's going on right now.
Got it.
Where a life coach concentrates on what's going on right now.
Your future journey.
How can we fix it so that you can be the person that you want to be in the future?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah,
you're talking about the past. We're still here. I'm confused.
Yeah. So it's more of a projection into the future to try to fix your life and change things in your life. Tweak it just a little bit to make you get to where you want to be in life.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that.
Of course.
And then you launched this during the pandemic. So you've been, 7-8 months now as a life coach?
Yeah.
So have you found that a lot of people really need, I mean, it's a tough year. We've hit our 1 year mark.
Yeah.
And it's been a long, tough year. Do you feel like a lot of people are coming out and saying, you know, I really need help. Now I have time. I'm home. Or it's a tough year, and so I need extra support?
So I think it's the way that you look at things. I think that if you look at it like, oh, it's a tough year, things are just horrible, then you're going to get a lot of people saying that. But when you look at it like, this is a good year, this is perfect time to grow myself and learn more about myself, then you're going to find those people. And that's the way I choose to look at it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And I know for myself, like this year has been amazing for that because I have been home and I have been stuck with myself. And being at home and being quiet with yourself and having to face yourself, it is hard. It's hard to sit there and face yourself and your emotions and what's going on with you. But I think that it's been so helpful to people too. I think that I know I'm the first one to be like, I'm ready to travel. Let's get on a plane and go somewhere. Yeah. But at the same time, like, I think that everybody needed this past year. Everybody needed this time to like regroup, get back to themselves, and now we can hit the ground running. Where are we going next?
And everybody's learning new things.
Yes.
You know, I personally, it's been a hard year, I think, for society.
Yeah.
But me personally, I think it's been a great year. You know, we're learning new things at work, and we're serving our families in different capacities, and it's been exciting, you know, to realize all the different capabilities that we have. And the same with life coaching. You know, when somebody is going through a journey, they're going to learn new capabilities. And so what better time to do it in a tough year?
Yeah, I agree.
And so if somebody wanted to basically hire you, I guess, is there a fee? How does that work?
I actually have a website that you can go on, and it has some more information, but I have 3 different programs. You can work with me one-on-one, and that's like the most beneficial. That's your speed train to get to where you want to be. The next is I am actually launching a 12-week program on April 6th, where we will find the story that's holding you back and tweak it so that you can get to your goal faster. And we're going to help you implement your goals. And this is going to be basically for people that either want to start a business, they have an idea, maybe they want to start a business and they don't know the idea yet. We're going to work on that, find that idea, find what they're passionate about, and implement a strategy to get them started and get them on the ground running.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm super excited about all of them. I'm really excited about the group coaching because I really want to concentrate on that and grow that big. Because I would love to have hundreds of women in there and helping them. And I'm so excited about the potential of it also.
So a lot of like women empowerment, and other people can cheer each other on and help them through the journey.
Yes, exactly.
Which is so nice, especially for people who are timid. You know, they want to have people around them and surrounding them so that they feel like they're not doing it all by themselves.
Exactly. And I think to have a group of people around you that see you, that see you for who you are and your potential, and not just as a mom or just as a wife or whatever. Like I think that is very empowering for yourself. I know for me it was like to have other people be like, it's okay. Like, or I remember the first time I told my story about my past, and I actually had people looking at me like, oh, that's what it was. And I'm like, oh, wow. And I even had people like look at me kind of blankly, like, okay, like that's all it was. And here I am. I like had so much like, oh my God, they're going to judge me so much, and nobody's ever going to want to be around me, and they're going to shun me to like the corners of the earth. You know, like I had this vision of how people were going to act towards me. And when they didn't, it was like, oh, well, maybe I'm not such a horrible person anyway. You know, like it kind of like helped me come out of that as well. Not only digging in that work, but seeing how people didn't react the way that I thought that they would, and how people were supportive. And they were like, I even had people that were like, you had an awesome life. What are you talking about? Like, I would love to do that or whatever. And me, I'm sitting here thinking like, well, this is the most horrible thing in the world. You know?
I know. It becomes you.
Yeah.
You know, your past becomes you. I know when I moved here from Northern Virginia and I didn't know anyone, I didn't want to tell people about my past until one day somebody said, you need to tell your story because it's going to help other people.
Right.
So your story, you know, could help thousands and thousands of people.
And that's my goal.
You know, women empowerment is so big right now. So do you work primarily with women? Do you work with men too, or?
Primarily with women, yeah. I've talked to men before, but mostly I would prefer to work with women. And women basically that have, well, my area of expertise that I want to help with is women that have dealt with shame from their past, or something that holds them back from their past. Like they know that there's something great inside of them that they have to offer people, but they're scared to do it because of something that happened to them. Like those are the women that are my people, and that I know that I'm meant to help.
Yeah, so. You're the light.
Yes.
So if anybody is listening today, can you just reiterate where they can find you? And your life coaching business is called Aimey G.
Yes.
AIMEY, with G, capital G. Yeah. Where can they find you?
So I have a website, and my website is aimeyg.com, and it's AIMEYG.com. I'm also on Instagram at Aimey Gia, AIMEYGIA. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. And especially too, I mean, people can listen to this on various podcast stations, but
Yes.
when we launch it on social media, I'll definitely put everything in the comments.
Perfect. Yes,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Thank you.
Of course. And this show is sponsored by Pohanka, but it's also, we're doing it with UMFS. And so my question I ask all the guests, because it's something that's very near and dear to my heart, UMFS, we view all of our families, all of our children, all of our staff as unwavering champions. So how are you an unwavering champion in the community?
I feel like I'm an unwavering champion in the community because, like you said, I'm that light for people that feel like that they're lost, that they're the shell of a person, that feel like they don't have anything to offer, that they feel like they've lost their self. Like I am that person to help them break all that away and step into their greatness and who they are meant to be and who they know themselves to be.
Yeah. Thank you, Amy. This has been so great to have you here and learn about what you can provide for people needing that light, that shine. I know I've certainly learned a lot in this podcast, and I really, really appreciate having you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. It won't be the only time. So.
Oh, yes. I'm ready. Let me know. I'll come back.
Certainly. Well, this is Angela Rivers with Fredericksburg Mission. I'm so happy to be here with Aimey Giacinto. If you would like to learn more about her services, please look up Aimey G, Life Coach. And if you'd like to learn more about UMFS, please visit umfs.org/foster. Fredericksburg Mission, Angela Rivers. See you next time. Thank you for joining us. I'm Angela Rivers with Fredericksburg Mission. Tune in at Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Join us again next week for our next episode.